Hello, boys and girls. Well, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving break and a good holiday. I'm actually recording this before we go on break. I have a few minutes in between conferences, so I thought I would start my first division screencast. So as you know, we've started division, and our first one is going to be on partial quotients, which is just like partial products, except we're dividing instead of multiplying. And the partial quotients means we're taking the problem apart and dividing it part by part and adding them together, just like we did with partial products. And you will probably hear me say the word partial products. Just ignore me, pretend like I said partial quotients. I do that a lot. So, go ahead and let's label our notebook. Oops, I see I almost wrote products. Partial quotients. Okay, so with partial quotients, we're going to take a problem like, let's do 65. Oh, I know, you know what, I want to do 60. Let's do 65 divided by 5. So with 65 divided by 5, what you want to do is, first of all, we're going to draw a line down here so we have a place we can put our quotients that we're going to add together. So you want to start, when you first start a problem, you want to look at the numbers 10 and 100 to see which one of those is most reasonable for this 5 to divide into the 65. So now if I look at the 100 and I go 5 times 100, well, that's 500. So that's not reasonable because that is way bigger than my 65. So I'm going to go with 10. So I'm going to do 5 times 10. So I'm going to write my 10 over here. 5 times 10, and I'm going to multiply this. 5 times 10 is 50. So I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to subtract it. So I have 5 and 1. Okay, so now I'm looking at that again. I'm like, okay, 5, there's 2 different ways I can do this. I know in my head that 5 times 3 is 15. So I could put a 3 here and then multiply my 5 times 3 and get 15 and subtract and I get 0. Once I get 0, I have no place else to go. So then I'm going to add my 2 numbers. 10 plus 3 is 13. And then I'm going to bring that up here because that's what that's telling me is 65 divided by 5 is equivalent to 13. Now, this is the great thing about partial products and area model when we get to it. If I take this number again, 65 divided by 5, and I have that same thing. Okay, bring my line down. 10. 5 times 10 is 50. Put it there and subtract. So I have 15 left. Well, let's say I don't know that 5 times 3 is 15. So I'm going to use my 10 again. Okay. I know 5 times 10. Oh, I can't do that. 5 times 10 is going to be 50, right? So if I put a 10 here, 50, I'm going to be able to look and see, ooh, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't work. But let's say I know that 5 times 2 is 10. I don't know that 5 times 1 is, or 5 times 3 is 15, but I do know 5 times 2 is 10. I can put a 2 here and multiply it out. 5 times 2 is 10. Subtract. I have 5. So I'm not at 0 yet. So now I know, okay, 5 goes into 5. Oh, okay, I know that. It goes in there 1 time. So now I'm going to put that here. 5 times 1 is 5. And I have 0. If I add my numbers up, I still come up with 13. So the nice thing is when you do partial products, if you don't get the exact number, as long as your number that you multiply is less than the number you're subtracting from, you just keep going. You might just have more numbers to add up at the end. Okay? So let's try another one. Let's go with, let me put my lines in here. I'm trying to do the lines so that you can see it. So let's say I have 650 238 divided by 4. Bring my line down. I'm going to think 10, and I'm going to think 100. Okay, well, I could do 10. It might take me a little longer, because 4 times 10 is 40, and that's nowhere near 638. Or I could look at my hundreds and be like, okay, 4 times 100 is 400. That's less than 638. So I'm going to put my 100 over here, and I'm going to multiply. 4 times 100 is 400. I'm going to subtract, and I get 238. So now I think about it again. Well, I can't do the 100 again, because just like with that 5, it's going to be too much. So because 4 times 100 is 400, and that's a lot bigger than 238. I need to stay below 238. So I got to work with my tens. So now I'm thinking, okay, 238, I'm going to use my compatible numbers. For how many times? Let's see, 4 times 8 is 32. Add a 0, that's 320. So 8's too high. So what about 4 times 6? 24, add a 0, 240. Oh, so close, but still too high. So that means I have to go with 5. Now, and then I'm adding my 0, so it's really not 5, it's a 50. So if I go 4 times 5 is 20, add my 0, I have 200. I'm going to subtract, and I have 38. Okay, well, 4 times 10 is 40. So that's not going to work. So I have to think of a number less than 10 that goes into 38. So if I think about my multiplication and division facts, 32 divided by 4 is 8. So I'm going to put an 8 over here and multiply it out. 4 times 8 is 32. I'm going to subtract. I have 6. Well, I can keep going, because this 6 is not less than my 4. So I can't stop until this is 0 or less than 4. So I know 4 times 1 is 4. So I'm going to put a 1 there, multiply it out. I subtract, I have 2. Well, 2 is less than 4, so I'm done. I'm ready to add up. So I have 9, 5, so 159, but that's not all. I have to take this 2, and that becomes my remainder. So it's 159, remainder 2. Now, some of you may have realized when I got to this part with the 38, Miss Shady, there's a number that goes into 38 more than 8, and it's 9. When you could have done that, you would have gotten a 9 there, subtracted 36, and you would have had your 2. You would have gotten the same answer as me. I just had to add an extra step. So remember, that's the nice thing about partial products. You just keep going and keep going till you get a number that's less than 2. Less than the divisor. This is your divisor. Or 0. Okay, so let's try one more problem, and that is 975 divided by 8. Okay, so once again, let's think tens and hundreds. Okay, well, I'm going with my hundreds, because I know 8 times 100 is 800, and that's closer to 975 than 80. So I'm going to put my 100 here. Now I have to multiply. 8 times 100 is 800. Subtract 5, 7, 1. Okay, well, I can't do 100 again because 8 times 100 is 800. So I got to think tens. So, okay, so 8 times 10 is 80. Well, it's not close to 175, but it's easy for me. Multiples of 10 are easy, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to put a 10. Notice how I lined up mine, so it makes it easier when I line it up. So 8 times 10 is 80. I'm going to subtract. So now I have 95. Okay, well, we just said that 8 times 10 is 80, so I'm going to do it again. 8 times 10 is 80. I'm going to subtract. I have 15. Okay, so now how many times is my 8 going to 15? Well, I know 8 times 2 is 16, but that's too high, so I can only do 1. So 8 times 1 is 8. I subtract. I have 7. Well, 7 is less than 8, so I guess I'm done. And that's going to be my remainder. So let me add up my numbers. I have a 1, I have a 2, I have a 1. So my answer is 121, remainder 7. 121, remainder 7. And I'm done with my division problem. Okay, so let's give you one to try, and then you're going to have some problems to try on your form. So let's try, how about this? Let's do 587 divided by 4. Okay, think hundreds and think tens. Let's put our line down here. Okay, pause the video, work it out, and let's see if we come up with the same answer. Okay, so when I look at this problem, I'm thinking, okay, hundreds, because 4 times 100 is 400, and that's a lot closer to 587 than 40. So I'm going to put 100 here. I'm going to multiply. 4 times 100 is 400. Subtract 7, 8, 1. So I have 187. Okay, well, I know I can't use the 100 again because 400 is too high for 87. So I'm going to work on my tens. Well, I got that thing again. 4 times 10 is only 40. Ooh, I wonder what 4 times 20 is. If 4 times 10 is, wait, 4 times 10 is 40, then 4 times 20 must be 80. Well, 80 and 80 is 160. So can I go 20, 40, 60? So if I did 4 times 60, let's see if I put a 60 here. Oh, that's too high. So I'm going to have to change that because I didn't mean 60. I meant 40. So 4 times 4 is 16 plus my 0. I have 160. So when I subtract, I have 27. Okay, this is a basic fact. I can do this. So I know 4 times 7 is 28. Too high. So I got to go 4 times 6. 4 times 6 is 24. I'm going to subtract. I have 3. Okay, 3 is less than 4. I'm done. So let's go 6, 4, 1. Then I can't forget my remainder. Remainder 3. So your answer is 146, remainder 3. Okay, now I know I didn't write steps out for this because it's kind of hard to write steps until you see it. So we will actually, as part of our independent work tomorrow, write the steps in our math journal for partial quotients. Okay, so your keyword today is going to be brother. And I actually thought about saying that earlier and then I totally forgot. So work on your form, turn it in. I am going to ask you to work out the problems for your form in your math journal. So when I look at your math journal tomorrow, I can see that you did the forms in partial quotients strategy. Okay, next we'll be doing the area model strategy and then the algorithm, just like we did with multiplication. And then we'll get into, once we get the algorithm, we're going to be doing division ladder in class after break. So we'll talk more about that. Okay, so have a great afternoon, and I will see you later for area model. Bye.